Hello, this is Judy, and welcome to another episode of Sustain the Talk. Many people our age struggle with the concept of self-awareness and feel as though they're always lost. So, on today's episode, we've decided to get you a very interesting and special guest, one who continued to explore herself successfully through both technical and travel experiences. And we've decided to get to know about how she's done that today on this episode. Hello, Malak.
Hello, how's everything?
All good. How are you?
I'm great.
Malak, I would like to start this episode by trying to understand who is Malak. What do you do? What are your passions? Something interesting about you. Tell us briefly who you are.
Alright. So, I'm Malak. I'm a product owner, which is a technical role. I graduated computer engineering and mainly I've always had a passion for travel. So the minute I started saving money, my main purpose was to travel and see more of the world. And through that, I believe I've experienced so many things that helped me shape who I am now.
You said you're both a product owner and you're a traveler.
Yeah.
Would you tell us how you balance between these two?
Yeah, I believe one of the myths in life is that we have to pick one niche and stick to it, whatever. But I believe no human ever is born to only do one thing. We've had many potentials, many talents. We have so many things. And you don't have to dim a part of your light in order to shine in the other. However, you can shine wherever you want and however you want. So basically what I do is that I work a 9 to 5 that can be remote, then can be at the office. And whenever I can take days off, I travel and explore a new country or a new place.
And how do you sustain your mental health in this process? It seems like there could be a lot on your plate sometimes.
Yeah. So basically part of my trips are mostly focused around retreats. So what I do is once I go there, I actually unplug from everything that is pluggable. So it's just me and nature, and I try to ask myself questions, reconnect with myself and find out why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing.
Reconnect with yourself. Could you tell me more about that? Could you tell me actually a story, maybe a trip or an experience that has helped you truly reconnect with yourself?
Yeah, I think I always owe it back to my first ever solo trip. I was 17 back then, and I had a UN conference in the US, and I went to my family with a kind of a pitch, hey guys, you know what, I've been applying for this thing for a while now. I've submitted so many papers, I had to do a lot of work to get there. And now that I'm accepted and they owe me a trip to New York to go to a conference with every other person from this world, and I really want to make it there because back then I was such an enthusiast about sustainability, politics and everything. So, and I think that's a very good thing about my family is that they always taught me that if I want something, I should go after it and get it. So they were okay, if you want to do that, maybe do us a pitch of why do you want to go, how much is that going to cost you, how many days is that going to need, how are you going to take those days off from it was the first year of uni. And I had to actually do my first ever budget analysis and I need X dollars for that, I need that for accommodation, that for flight and everything. And at that time they said yes and I traveled, and then there was a snowstorm in New York and I was stuck in the airport in Italy for 55 hours. And I was so young, and part of me was if I called them and I was hey, there's a snowstorm, I'm stuck in the airport, they're going to be okay, come back and you're not traveling. Or I can just be at the airport for 55 hours, 17 years old. But that's the path I chose because for me there was something there was literally a very bright light at the end of the tunnel. It's New York, it's the UN, it's so many of my dreams coming true. So I stayed there at the airport, and I believe that was one of the biggest adventures / challenges in my life. I had to find out what is a counter that would give me the other ticket. I had to see how I'm gonna use my money because I have dollars, now we need euros. And I had to also take care of there was this old woman in the plane with me, and she started acting as if I'm her daughter, and she's hey, can you please connect me with my son? And it was this moment that I had to realize how far I can go to do what I want actually, and how much I'm capable of doing, because everyone was yeah, but you won't be able to manage airports, but you won't be able to manage immigration in the US, but I actually did put myself out there, and I reconnected, and it was that situation that made me realize that you can go way further than what people tell you can.
So this very experience has shaped a lot in your identity as Malak today. Could
Absolutely.
you tell me in one sentence exactly what this experience has done to you and brought out in you?
I think that you're much more than what people tell you about yourself. If you want to know about yourself, sit with yourself, experience things with yourself. Don't ask people about yourself. You tell people who you are. They don't tell you who you are.
That's awesome. You sound like a very adventurous person, Malak. I would like to know, have you always been this adventurous since you were very little?
As a kid, or not a kid, as a child, I did sports. I was an athlete, precisely a gymnast, for 17 years of my life. My life was based off like trainings at night, school in the morning, even camps for like training camps. I'm not sure I had such a like gap for adventure. However, I was always encouraged to use my time well, and I was always encouraged to respect my body and how far it can go. So maybe I didn't have such a gap for adventure when I was a kid, but like, yeah, that's a story that just popped up in my mind. When I was younger, there was this Arabs Got Talent, and it just came out on the news, and I was like 14 years old. I was like, hey mom, I want to be part of Arabs Got Talent. I was always a national athlete, so maybe I can go there and compete. And again, it comes back to my family of, if you want to know something, go after it and do it yourself. I was like, okay, I will. And I called them. It was, back then there was no like emails, or just like, I called them I was like, I want to participate. They're like, yeah, send me your passports, you and your team members. And then I had to go to the club, talk to my other girlfriends who are with me in the team, like, guys, we're going to go to Arabs Got Talent. We're going to like travel to Lebanon and participate. And we did that. So yeah, although like we got literally 4 buzzers, and that's very bad, like for kids, like every single...
What did you perform?
It was supposedly a gymnastics routine,
okay.
But it was so bad because we're built to participate in championships, and in championships, yeah, part is about entertainment, of course, but mostly about like the skills and how much you can do. But it's not that entertaining.
So it's just artistic, that's why.
Yeah, it was way too like athletic for it to be entertaining, and we didn't have, of course, the right choreography and everything. And it's very humbling. But when I think about it, I saw something on the TV. I said I want to go there. I went after it, and I went. So it was
I love how supportive your parents are, actually.
Yeah, they're very awesome.
Like, I can tell that they have shaped this persistent and, you know, outgoing part in you. Yes. And I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. They've always taught me that if you want something, you go after it, but you have to make it make sense.
What are some struggles you've experienced during all this, you know, after going out, you know, it's easier said than done. Go out after what you want. Well, there's definitely a very difficult part of that. Tell me about it.
I think one thing that hindered me a lot as a child and as a younger person is that I didn't really have friends. So for school, I was way too athletic for them, which means like if they want to go out after like school and do something, if they have like this kind of birthday parties and stuff, I'm always not available. I'm always either traveling with sports or I have training to add up to. Like I remember I wasn't allowed to drink sodas until I was 18 years old. So there was so many parts of like being a child that I didn't really master.
You were the outcast kind of.
Yeah, and for people in my team, it was always, everyone was centered around one thing, which is getting the championship. And I wasn't really that good at making friends. And I think that's why I had to explore all other ventures of life, because I had enough time to like maybe read, to watch TV, to write, and to do all those stuff. So I had this gap, but it was coming out of loneliness, that if I cannot have friends, then maybe I want to attract friends. So maybe I want to try to be cooler. So it was the constant trying of like, I want to fit in, I want to be cooler, I want to do that, I want to do this.
Wouldn't that result in burnout eventually?
It results in not knowing who you are, because for so long you try to be the person that other people want to be friends with, but you never make it. So it's like a constant struggle, and it's a constant, like you're running after something that's not really attainable. Until my mother told me this thing, and I thank her for so many things, but she told me that when you do what you love, you find people doing the same thing, and that's the people you connect with. So you just do what you love.
You don't try to fit in.
Yeah, you fit in with yourself, and that's where you find people who actually look like you, who love the things that you love. Like, for example, if you're someone who reads, you can be like a freak / a nerd to some people, and for other people you're going to be a very knowledgeable / educated person that they want to have a conversation with. So it's going to the places where you actually love, and that's where you meet people who fit in with you. And now I think my biggest asset in life is my friends.
That's adorable.
Thank you.
Speaking of loneliness, I actually wanted to ask you something regarding traveling. Do you feel as though part of your travel experience is escaping that lonely modern world, you know, due to the fast-paced world we live in, the digital world, all of that kind of became lonely. So do you feel as though traveling has reconnected you better to people?
I believe it's a bit the opposite, because we all think that we're alone. However, we're all alone together in somehow. Like whenever you talk to someone, it's like, I'm so lonely. Everyone is so attached to their phones, and no one is like having a conversation. Like, okay, do you want to have a conversation? Because that's the one thing that you're also looking for. So we're all escaping the same thing. So it's very easy to connect. And for example, while I'm traveling, I always go like stay at hostels, because I know that people staying at hostels are also solo travelers. So we can connect over that. And through social media, one thing that social media is, I believe, good at is that now we have an algorithm. Now, like for example, my audience on my Instagram, I don't get hate comments, because I'm very clearly this kind of person, and algorithm only pushes me to people who want to see what I'm giving. So no, I think, yeah, it definitely connected me to incredible people, great minds. However, it was also a part of me discovering where I fit more.
What's a skill you would advise our generation when dealing with loneliness? I can tell you're very experienced, you know, and a lot of us, like, we're not of the same generation, but, you know, like high schoolers like me, we struggle a lot with making friendships, all of that. What's an advice you would give them?
I think it's again this word of we're all alone together. So the minute you start realizing that you're not the only one who's struggling, so many people have the same exact struggle, and what you're thinking and what you're feeling is valid and it's there, you start finding people who actually listen and who actually understand what is it that you're saying. So yeah.
Now that we're done speaking about the loneliness, all of that, I would like to ask you, now that the topic is self-discovery, what is the definition of self-discovery, and what is something we can do to actually try to achieve that, you know, self-awareness?
Okay. I think self-discovery is about who you are and what you do when you're all alone and when you're not restricted by anything. Like if you're now living alone, you have all the freedom in the world, you have all the money in the world, you have whatever you need. What is it that you're gonna do? And why is it that you're gonna do that? And one of the things that people always like laugh at or take it lightly, but I think it's crucial, is to ask yourself all those questions that pop up in your mind, and then you like wave them for another time. Like sometimes you get a question of, but why is this that way? I think questions are there for a reason, and whatever attracts you for a reason, and you should pursue that, because in that path you find the answers to things that help you shape who you are. For example, if I've always wanted to travel, I don't know what is it, I don't know why is there calling to travel, I don't know why am I so eager to travel when other people are eager to just maybe party. But through my trips I realized things and I learned things that actually helped me shape who I am. So I think the advice is follow your instinct always. Don't be afraid of asking yourself questions, and don't be afraid of finding out the answer, because like who you are lies in the answer.
I feel we've almost neared the end of the episode. I would like to ask you a question now, circling back to the loneliness part. You seem to have been connected with many people, have interacted, and, you know, been exposed to different cultures. What's an advice you would give to improve one's communication skills? You know, people struggle a lot with that.
Yeah, I think when we learn even in school and uni about presentation, we always think about it as those couple of slides and a professor watching and we're trying to find it. But when you think about it, everything in life is about how good you are of a presenter. So whether it's an interview and you try to present yourself as something that other person wants to employ, or it's a conversation with friends and you want to present your idea out there. So you should really learn about presentation skills, and there's many ways. And at one point think about that sometimes what is there to present is simply your idea. And how do you want to present that? Where is your strength? Some people present things with humor. That's why you find stand-up comedians and people attending their shows. Some people present with facts and numbers. That's why you find all those like YouTube educators. Some people present with their charm. They just simply stand up there and talk very proudly about what they want and who they are, and others listen. So you have to find where is your strength. Sometimes it's simply you knowing more. For example, if I'm here now to tell you about the best places in Mexico, you listen because I'm the one who has the knowledge here. So sometimes the way of making a great presentation is knowing more. So if you take that to yourself, the more you know about yourself, the better you can present yourself, and the better you can put your ideas out there. And when you're authentic and when you're real, people listen, because it's all about emotions at the end. If they can feel you, if they can trust you, they listen to you. So.
And how have you put yourself as a figure who people will be willing to listen to?
Okay, I've heard this advice back then, which is when people listen to you, it's because you have something that they don't have, or you are something that they're scared to be. So sometimes the thing is, for example, if we take it to social media, since I'm a blogger, for so many people, the fact that I put my emotions out there is very like intimidating. Like, how can you say that you're sad? How can you say, like, I once talked about depression and people were like, but how would you say that you're depressed? But to other people, that's actually motivation. That shows them that, yeah, their feelings are valid. So they listen for that. So for me, it was all about authenticity and believing that whatever I have is important for one other person in this world, and I want to get to that one person.
Thank you so much, Malak.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We have unfortunately come to the end of this episode. Yes. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you to our viewers. We hope you have enjoyed the episode. And if you did, don't forget to follow us on all our platforms at Sustain the Talk on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Thank you. Bye-bye.